Okay, everyone. Hello. It's good to see you. Thank you so much for your patience. My apologies. We were having some technical difficulties on my side and it just did not want to play nice, but gave the computer an old restart and all the synapses and dendrites and all the things are firing inside my computer now. So all that. All right. Good to see you all. Thank you for joining me. This session is around marketing magic. So if you were here for the Weight Watchers convention, sorry, you're in the wrong spot. I don't know where to tell you to go, but you're welcome to stay if you'd like. We're going to be talking about marketing. And if you have a business and this is something that you're looking to grow and you're looking to get more leads in your business right now, this session is for you. And we're going to get right into it just because I would like to, if you would mind putting in the comments where you're from. I see there's a couple of people. You're from Westbrook. Is that Maine? Very good. Beth, I think you've been on a couple of days. I think it's good to see you back. Laura from Colombia. Nice to meet you. You're living in North Miami. Excellent. Let us know what line of work that you're in as well. It's always helpful for me to try to make this as relevant to you as possible. So we're going to get right into this just because I do apologize for the delay, but we were not going to be able to make it work unless I did a restart. So thanks again. So one of the things I want to make sure that you understand, we're going to be covering a lot of knowledge right now, and you're going to be here. Pine Tree Society 13. Yes. Scarborough, Maine. Okay. Very good. So one of the things that when I do these, and I'm starting to make this more of a point as I do these sessions, and many people have been on several of these before, that maybe this is the first time for you on Eventbrite where you're being made aware of what it is that I teach. I'm a life and business strategist, and I get a lot of people who come to these sessions for knowledge, but I'm thinking, okay, are you getting knowledge to understand, or are you getting knowledge to take action? Because here's the thing, at the end of the day, you have to take some sort of action or nothing's going to change in your life. Information is great. It's certainly great for understanding, but that's the difference between information and transformation. So at the end of this, I want to know specifically, what are you going to be taking action on? Because we are going to get a little granular here, because here's the reality is that when it comes to marketing, and it comes to your business, whatever business that you happen to be in, you can have the best, most efficient business. You could be a paragon of virtue. You could have your sales technique so dialed in, you could sell ice to Eskimos and voting booths to Castro. And at the end of the day, you can still starve. I want to make sure that you understand that, because yes, having a good running and well-running business is absolutely critical. But there's lots of critical things. There's lots of critical components. It's just like there's lots of critical components to baking good cookies, right? Does it matter that you have something in there that's like sugar or some sort of sugary sort of something? Otherwise, your cookies are going to be super bland. Or if you use baking soda versus baking powder, I don't know the difference, but I'm sure there is one, and it's got something to do with the alkaline and whether it rises or doesn't rise, right? So my point is that all of these factors are really, really important, but it all starts with your marketing. It all starts with your lead generation, because if you don't have enough leads coming in, nothing else will basically matter. It's all going to be costs. You're just going to be sitting around waiting for stuff to do. So it was interesting. I'm putting a copy or showing you this copy of this is my very first book. It's called The Time Wealthy Investor. And The Time Wealthy Investor, I was really proud of this book. In fact, I'm still very proud of this book, because for a first book, I think I really knocked the cover off the ball. And were there things in there that kind of, I was like, oh man, I can't believe I missed that. Or, there were some formatting issues or, just different things. Right. And it's one of those situations where it's like, at some point you just got to be done with it. Right. If you've ever flipped a house, you know what I'm talking about. So this is where I want you to start to think about this. Like, when I was putting this book out there, I remember I had spent 2 years putting this book together and writing and editing. And there was one point that I thought I was done. I wrote this book. I put it all out there. I had a guy who was beta reading it, and he came back and he's like, this book is so circular, it's hard to read. And I was like, oh my gosh, are you kidding me? And I realized that he was right. The book was not ready. The book was nowhere near ready. And I ended up having to rewrite that entire book basically from the beginning. And I'm so glad that I did, because that book was not ready. It just wasn't. And I was trying to rush it and trying to get the thing out. And it was funny because after I had spent these 2 years and writing and editing and getting the book out there, I had, I mean, I'm just letting you know, when I published that book and I clicked publish and I was like, all right, this is going to be amazing. And I am proud to report to you that my book sales after 30 days of this was $0. $0. I wish I were kidding. And I was like, oh, this is going to be way harder than I thought, because I had put out a really good product, but I had done nothing to promote it. I mean, literally nothing. I may have put up a video here or something like that on social media. I might have, spent a couple bucks on an ad or something. Keep in mind, this is back in 2017. So when I had put the book out there, I was thinking like, man, this is not selling. And I didn't know why. Well, because I'd done no promotion of it. I had let the world know. I just assumed that just because I put something good out there, I thought they were going to be the path to my door. Now I'm telling you this, that it's a good book. But now let me just press pause here for a hot second. I had published that book under a brand that I had created called Landlord Coach. And I really hadn't done much around this. And the book was specifically for mom and pop investors who were landlords, basically people who had their own property management business, who had their own property management business and were managing their own rental properties. And the Landlord Coach brand I thought was kind of self-explanatory that people should know what the book is about. I was wrong, because I really wanted to put out this whole concept of being time wealthy and not letting your business run your life. And I was like, okay, so I created this brand. I started, really pushing the brand. I started creating funnels. I was posting, I was marketing. Now I started emailing and gathering lists and cajoling. And I started to put in a lot of effort to sell this book. And I even paid for Amazon ads and Facebook ads and Google ads. And my volume did increase and increased quite a bit. And after 3 months after doing nothing but trying to sell these darn books and all that effort, I went from $0 in sales to $95.64. I wish I were kidding. I was so incredibly discouraged. Now, how many of you would have felt the same way at this point? Like, I cannot believe I spent 2 years of my life devoted to creating this thing, right? Thank you, Lauren. It was exactly like I spent 2 years to write and publish this thing and no sales. And I don't even know how many different funnels, and buying other people's courses and creating this brand and spending all this money and more money. And I felt like the only people who were making money were the advertisers. And I had 12 sales, just so in case you're doing the math, that amounts to 12 sales. And that wasn't even profit, by the way. That's gross sales, because I was selling the book at break even, just trying to get some traction. So it was interesting that when I did this, now, for those of you who remember, like, do you remember the free plus shipping offers that were very, very, very common back in like 2014, 2015, 2016, even through 2020, where people would say, hey, send me, $7.99 or $8.99 or $9.99. And that's a free, and you get the book for free. You're just paying for shipping. Well, I'm letting you know that that's kind of how I went about this. And I was making no money on the book. The book was like $5. The shipping was like $3. I was selling it for $7.97. In fact, I was probably making a loss of maybe 25 cents per book, but I was just trying to get some traction out there. And I wasn't even making any money. I was so incredibly frustrated. How many of you would have wanted to give up at this point? Right. I know. I mean, I know at that point, I was like, all right, I'm already too far into this. I want to be a writer. I want to be an author. I want to teach. I want to continue to do this, but I have to find another way, because, the problem was this. It would have been an easy out if you didn't know any better. Yeah, exactly. And here's the thing. What I was trying to do was trying to sell them information when they wanted transformation. They wanted their lives to be different. I was trying to sell them books when all they wanted was their life to be better. Right? This is known as selling the trip and not the vacation. You want to sell the sitting on the beach, not the 7 hours of flying. Does that make sense? Right? So, oh, thank you, Beth. Okay. I was just wondering what you were saying there. So now this is the interesting thing, is that Now, if you're looking at this graph here, I'm just sharing this with you because I want to let you know how things did change for me. And I started out when I started figuring out how to actually make this work. I went from a little over I started making a little bit over $5,000 a month to over $17,000 per month in about 30 months. Now, the thing is I could have kept up this trajectory, but something changed for me in 2020. We're going to come back to this, but this is how I actually figured out the marketing of this, because I had to recognize promotion is not just something that you can just, it's not a one-off sort of thing. You've got to really work at this, and you cannot just throw stuff out there and see what sticks. You have to approach it scientifically, and that's where the magic happens, right? Remember, this is about marketing. This is about how to generate marketing magic, and that magic really isn't anything magical. It's not mystical. It's just scientific. You have to put stuff out there, test it, and then when that test comes back, whatever the results are, that's your baseline. And now you say, okay, so that's my standard. Now I'm just going to start trying different things. And I'm not going to change it completely. I might change the headline. I might change the offer. I might change something else. But that's what you have to do. Now, keep in mind, I could have kept up on this trajectory, with Landlord Coach, because, I started making significantly more money. So here's the interesting thing. So if you don't recognize this guy's face, I'm just going to get myself off the screen here for just a little bit. So this is a bank robber. And this is interesting because for those of you, what I was experiencing here was what this guy experienced, is massive false confidence, and how it plays a role for business owners, especially ones who might be struggling, especially like I was trying to get book sales. Well, back in January 6th of 1995, MacArthur Wheeler and Clifton Earl Johnson robbed two Pittsburgh banks at gunpoint without any attempts to disguise who they were. You want to know what their whole plan was? They disguised their face using lemon juice. They thought for sure that by putting lemon juice on their face would make them invisible to the security cameras, right? So you know how you write on a piece of paper and lemon juice, and then you hold it up to a light bulb? That's what they thought. Okay. So they were so convinced of this, right? It actually made two researchers realize, hold on, there's got to be something more to this. And it was actually two researchers by the name of Dunning and Kruger. I think it's Jim Dunning and something Kruger. I don't remember exactly, but this is the interesting thing where they came out with this phenomenon known as the Dunning-Kruger effect. I'm going to actually take myself completely off the screen at the bottom so you can see this. So the interesting thing here is this is how false confidence plays a role for not just business owners, but people in general. And it starts down here at the bottom where you really know nothing, right? You don't have any confidence, and you just kind of know nothing. You're starting at a baseline. But the interesting thing is as you start out, your confidence skyrockets right off to that's that huge spike there to the peak of Mount Stupid. Okay. And that's what they called it, that. Right. And then as you start, as time goes on, and as you start realizing you're becoming more and more competent, you start to realize you don't know what you don't know. Okay. And as you continue on, if you keep going, you'll end up in the valley of despair. Now, this is really important. And I want to take myself back on camera here for just a hot second. This valley of despair, okay, that little spot down there, the valley of despair, that's where most people are. That's where they're going to go and try to find another shiny object. Does everybody know what I'm talking about in terms of shiny object syndrome? They just get super distracted. Oh, what about this thing? What about that thing? These serial entrepreneurs that really never follow through on anything. The valley of despair was where I was after a month didn't sell one book. And then after 3 months sold 12 books. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is way harder than I thought. What am I doing wrong? I was in the valley of despair because I didn't know what I didn't know about selling books. I didn't know what I didn't know about selling transformation. So now what could I have done? Could I have abandoned the valley of despair and just tried something new? Well, sure, but I would have been starting all over again. But what did I do? I stayed at it. And in this particular case, let me put myself back there. So in this particular case, what I did is I kept going up, and I started up the slope of enlightenment. And then up, you get to that plateau of sustainability over at the very top. But this is, again, where was I in this curve when I started selling books? Well, I was in the very, very beginning. And then I realized the valley of despair is where I just had to shift instead of chasing a new shiny object. So I want to encourage you guys that right now, you learning more about marketing, where are you? Where are you putting yourself in the Dunning-Kruger effect? This is it. The Wizard of Oz storybook selling. I'm not familiar with that, Beth. I'll have to. Is that an actual book? So anyway, that I'll have to look that up. So here's where I was mentioning when I was starting over. Now, when I was starting over, the reason that I was thinking about starting over, because remember that trajectory that I was telling you about, I was making over $15,000 a month, but I was like, I was in a I was in an industry that I really didn't want to be in. And the problem was when 2020 had come around, I had been thinking about it for a well over a year at that point, that I was in the real estate coaching space and I really didn't want to be, I didn't like the direction it was going in. I'm just going to leave it there because there was a lot of stuff going on that I just didn't agree with. So I was like, I really don't know. Not to mention, I really wanted to niche up. And when I started niching up, that's when I started to realize I have way more skill sets than just working with landlords and trying to get people to buy get their tenants to pay rent on time, right? So that was really Alice in Wonderland storybook selling. Is that the name of the book? I'm interested. Yeah, you piqued my interest. I'm a reader, so now I'm interested. So when I started doing this, I actually started down this path of creating this Viper method. Now I'm going to go through this quickly, and I actually spent a lot of time on this in previous sessions around the business and life, or life and business blueprint. But this Viper method is what I wrote about in my last book called The Time Wealthy Advantage. The Time Wealthy Investor was my first book. And then I have subsequently written several other books. And then this is The Time Wealthy Advantage was my last book. So this is really what the Viper method is about. So I'm going to go through this quickly just so you can understand it from a business perspective, where the lead generation fits in to the Viper methodology. So when you're looking at the Viper method, it's an acronym that stands for Vision, Infrastructure, Process, Execution, and Reporting. And this is the interesting thing is, oops, sorry, I went too far. So this is when you're looking at your vision, the vision is really where you want to go at the end of the day. And it starts with not only your personal vision, but also your business vision. So you define where it is that you want to go. And then as part of your business vision, you have to just start to determine your 3 C's of business: your core purpose, your core values, and your client avatar. And then from there, then you're going to start to build out your infrastructure, your processes that supports that business vision, and ultimately your personal vision, right? The personal vision is the main circuit breaker of your business. So when you're looking at, then finally, you're going to dictate what the execution things that you're going to be doing, and then finally the reporting function. So all of this, okay, I literally did that in like 30 seconds, but all of that supports the 4 core functions of business. And those 4 core functions of business are lead generation, sales, operations, and accounting. And the customer's journey through your business happens in that order. Now, it's really important that the 3rd C, so core purpose, core values, and client avatar, your client avatar. So when you're looking at the client avatar, that is basically who it is specifically that you want to work with. So core purpose is what business that you're in, right? So we're gonna unpack this here just in a little bit, but realistically, when you're looking at your from the Viper method from a vision perspective, you've got the vision, infrastructure, process, execution, and reporting. So when you're looking at vision, okay, so I'm going to tell you all this right now. Is it Laverta? So this is where you're looking at personal vision and business vision. The personal vision component is really about where it is that you want to go. The business vision component is, okay, great. How are we going to get there? So keep in mind that the main circuit breaker, like I mentioned, the personal vision is really where ultimately that you want to go. Like, what is this all for? If you woke up with $30 million in your bank account tomorrow, or 30 million pounds, depending on where you're coming in from today, the point is that your business vision exists to serve your personal vision. Okay, that's the main thing. So when you're looking at this, your vision, everything exists in your business vision to support your personal vision. That's the main thing. And the danger in not creating a personal vision, first and foremost, the danger in that is that when you create a personal vision, or when you create a business vision without first creating a personal vision, you end up creating a life that exists to serve the business. And I'm just telling you that that's a trap. It ends up just sucking you in. And now you've got this business that you can never possibly fire yourself from. Right. And I noticed that in my own life. Right. Remember, like this is when I had 100 rental units and I couldn't, I could never extract myself out of that business just because there was so much stuff I had to do every single day. I mean, I missed major events in my life. I had a friend that passed away that I couldn't go to the funeral because I had so much on my plate with these stupid rental units that I had. So the 3 C's of business. So this is Liberta. I'm going to kind of unpack this here just a little bit. The 3 C's of business vision are core purpose, core values, and client avatar. Understanding these 3 C's is absolutely going to massively help you in your marketing, because if you are not clear on this, it's not going to magically get more clear in the mind of your customer. And if you can't explain what you do eloquently and with, just very simple words, I'm telling you, you don't understand it well enough. This is what's interesting. And this is one of the things I really enjoyed about Steve Jobs and understanding how he was such an impact on Apple was he had the ability to take massively complex things and make them very, very simple for the person on the street to understand. Remember when the iPod came out and he literally pulled this thing out of his pocket and he says, 1,000 songs in your pocket. That's it. Done deal. It was so easy, right? So that was where I wanted you to start thinking about the core purpose, core values, and client avatar, about getting really simplistic in your language. So when you're looking at your core purpose, I want you to think of this. What business are you specifically in, and what problems do you specifically solve? And I want you to be really, really specific in your answers, because when you're not specific about what business that you're in, and specifically what problems that you solve, and also on the other side of this is, what business are you not in? Like, what business are you, like, what are you not solving? Because that's really important. Why is that? Because that would be like if Starbucks started selling chainsaws. It would make no sense. It doesn't align with their core purpose, because they sell beverages. They sell some finger foods. I think they're even trying to get out of that business, right? So it's really all about the coffee. It's all about the drinks. It's all about the experience, right? So they know what business that they're in and what problems they solve. That's why they don't serve cheeseburgers. So when you're looking at your core values are really, really important, because this is what helps establish your brand. It helps establish your culture. And when you're really trying to build a business that's going to be differentiated between why you're doing something on one side of the street and your competitor is doing something different on the other side of the street, why are they going to want to choose you? And the reason they're going to want to choose you is because it's either going to be a couple things. They're either going to choose you because of price, which I respect, but I'm telling you, when you're competing on price, it's a race to the bottom. And unless you can really control your costs and have a real tight lid on that and have a competitive advantage because you can control your costs, I'm just telling you, it's a race to the bottom. So this is why you have to really start to differentiate yourself. And one way to do that is about your core values. So the core values is what matters to you about this business, specifically what matters to you about this business, and how would the world be worse off if you went out of business? If you were no longer in business, who would suffer because you were no longer in business? Okay. So don't skip over these core value things and say, well, that's kind of squishy, I'm not going to deal with that. I'm just telling you, this is where you can get a competitive advantage, and it can really set you aside in your marketing, set you apart in the mind of your avatar, which is your 3rd C. So the 3rd C is the client avatar, is who specifically and ideally do you want to serve? And this is where you have to be kind of obnoxious about who it is you want to work with, and kind of obnoxious about who you don't want to work with. And that's okay, right? This is about being magnetic. And magnets have 2 poles, right? There's a magnet on one side that attracts, and then there's a pole on one side that attracts, and there's a pole on the other side which repels. And that's totally fine. So when you're looking at that, now you can start to think about your client avatar in the context of 3 things. And that is their geographics, the demographics, and the psychographics. The geographics are where they are. The demographics is who they are, right? Like specifically their age, their gender, they're married, things like that. Even income and that sort of thing. And then psychographics is how they think. And when you're thinking about your psychographics, I want you to think of the acronym ALIA, ALIA. So I want you to think about their attitudes, their lifestyles, their interests, and their aspirations. So when you're thinking about this and you're starting to think, okay, hang on just a second, I'm, uh, like what is the lifestyle that they live? Where are, what are they interested in? What are their goals? What kind of lifestyle do they live? Are they young and single and having fun? Or are they married with a couple of kids? Right? That's really important for you to remember when you're trying to determine who your avatar is, because this is going to be massively more important when you're trying to reach them in your marketing. So we're going to come back to this. So remember, I was telling you about this little trajectory that I was on here. And again, I was making about $17,000 per month, and I had done this in about 30 months. Now, I could have kept up this trajectory, but the thing was, and it wasn't from all just selling books. I actually had shifted and realized that the book was just a mechanism to get people in. Thank you, Laverta, to get people to realize, hold on a second, it's not about the book, it's about the transformation. So here, I'll give you this book, but the fact of the matter is, all that book was helping me establish authority and knowing what I was talking about. People who subsequently read that book, and then I came back with a newer edition called the Time Wealthy Investor 2.0, and that book still sells, and it's still highly relevant. And people who read that book said, man, that book is really, really good about how to manage a rental property portfolio, right? Now, if you've got one or two rentals, that's fine. I mean, you probably can get by with it, without reading it for a while, but it really helped people. And they're telling me this. And I was like, yeah, I know. I'm actually really proud of that book. But the thing was, I wanted to start over. So the thing was, what changed for me in that trajectory was, like, I really wanted to do something different. I wanted to start over, and finding a product. Here's the thing, like, the reason I wanted to start over is because there were a few things worse than working for a group of people who did not value what I was offering. Have you ever been down that road where you were offering these things and no one just cared? No one gave a crap, right? So it was really important for me to find a product or service for a client avatar that aligned with my core values. You've heard that before under business vision, right? Core purpose, core values, and client avatar. This was really important because, listen, there's people on this call who maybe have already jumped off that are like, man, I don't like this guy. I don't like his face, right? All right. Or there's going to be other people that go, yeah, I actually like what he's saying, right? And there's going to be some people in between, but there's always going to be people on those extremes. I want to be magnetic. I want to attract the people who want to work with me and repel those who don't. And the ones who don't, that's okay. That means they're free to go find someone else to work with and find someone who might be more alignment with their core values. And that's totally fine. So when you find that, this is where if you are starting over, you want to find that product or service for a client avatar who aligns with your core values, because you don't want to end up serving people that just drive you bananas and don't align with what you believe. And you also want to deliver massive amounts of value to them over and over and over. And this is something that I return to all the time, and what I refer to as infinite marketing. Infinite marketing means that even though they have become a customer, you never, ever, 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 ever stop delivering value to them. You're thinking, what do you mean? I should be spending money on them all the time? No, but you should be sending them things like, hey, here is something that you might find interesting. Like for some of you here, you are now in my atmosphere. And until you say, hey, stop, don't message me. Okay, fine, I won't, because that's you being magnetic, right? That's you're saying, hey, I'm rejecting you. That's totally fine. By the way, there's no rejection. It's all just refusal. Okay, because rejection and refusal are not the same thing. Rejection means that you're saying, I don't want Mark. Refusal is just like, I don't want what Mark's offering. Different way of looking at it, right? So rejection and refusal are not the same thing. I just look at stuff as refusal. I'm like, okay, they don't want what I offer. They're refusing what I have to offer. No big deal. They're not rejecting me. And even if they were, who cares? Who cares? But they're not rejecting me. It's refusal of services. That's it. And now all of a sudden I can protect my delicate ego, because I don't want to get, I don't want to go, home and lay on the floor of my shower crying with a bottle of Jack Daniels, right? Not that I would do that, but I'm just saying, like, that's something that you want to make sure that you're delivering massive amounts of value over and over and over and over and over. And you can do that in ways that cost very, very little. So This is, and the other part of that is what the market is going to judge you by. The market judges you by what value that you're giving them before they have paid anything at all to you. So think about that. Like, when you're walking outside of a fancy restaurant, when you're walking in, what do? Man, you see the ambiance, you hear the piano playing, you smell, you hear kind of the buzz of the activity, right? Think about when people are walking around in the mall with a little toothpicks and they hand you the beef teriyaki or whatever, right? Like that's all free samples, and the market judges you by your samples. So this is, for some of you, I know some of you might want to get some points on the board very quickly, because I know some of you are like, hey, look, I need to get my marketing dialed in now. here's what, remember, all of this here serves the 4 core functions of business. And right here on vision, again, the business vision is the 3 C's. I would be focusing on the 3 C's of business vision. I would be focusing on execution, making sure that my execution is completely dialed in, because that's almost always where the best plans fall apart. And I would be paying attention to reporting. So those 3 things, if you need to get points on the board very, very quickly, I would be very clear on my core purpose, core values, and client avatar. Okay. Core purpose, core values, client avatar. That's why we get very clear on that. Once I'm clear on that, then I just need to figure out how I'm going to execute and get value in front of those people with my core purpose and my core values as much as I possibly can. Does that make sense? So that means calling, mailing, knocking on doors, kissing babies, running for mayor, but do it in a way that brings value. Don't just be like, hey, you want to come buy my crap? No, get out of my email inbox, get out of my Facebook Messenger. I don't want to sign up for your thing. But if you said, hey, would you be interested in a free dietary assessment? I'm like, maybe, right? Because everybody's skeptical. I'm like, hey, no, I'm not trying to say anything. I'm just looking for some people that maybe want to, that I'm looking who might be interested in this. And I just want to demonstrate it to you. So if there's someone that maybe that might find it valuable, that I can offer that to them. Yes, I do have some things to sell, but I am not trying to sell anything right now. I'm literally just looking for some volunteers that maybe want to take this assessment and give me some feedback on it. Oh, okay, that I can do. You know why? Because I'm a helpful person. And they probably align with me as an avatar. So they go, oh, Mark's super helpful. Let me send him something. Okay. That's what you need to do. Not like, hey, hey girl, hey guy. Like, because every time it starts out that way, I'm like, oh my gosh, what are they trying to sell me? Bring me something of value. And it's like, hey, this health assessment does X, Y, and Z, or this financial assessment does A, B, and C. Make sense? Bring something of value first and foremost, and say, hey, if this is something that I'm bringing to you that's valuable, if you don't see value in it, no, all good, no problem. I promise you're not going to hurt my feelings. Who determines if it's valuable? It ain't you. It's the avatar that determines if it's valuable. So make it so valuable that they would feel like an idiot to say no. Okay? So just making sure that you understand how important that delivering value and keeping dialed in on value is for growing your business. So when we're looking at the 4 core functions of business, we're looking at lead generation, we're looking at sales, we're looking at operations, and we're looking at accounting. So from the 4 core functions of business, I want you to look at here. Let me get this bigger on the screen here. So like I mentioned earlier, is that the customer's journey happens for your company in this order. It starts with lead generation, then it goes to sales, then it goes to operations, and then it goes to accounting. The lead generation is the ads that are being put out. It's the marketing, it's the direct mail that's being sent out, right? I do a lot of direct mail. I do a lot of emailing and things like that. So these are the sorts of things that, in terms of lead generation, that I do. From the sales component, that picks up where the lead generation function leaves off. So you've got the lead generation, then you've got the sales, okay? Then you've got the operations and fulfillment piece. And that's doing whatever it is you do. If you're a baker, Quaker, candlestick maker, whatever it is, that's what you do in the operational function, right? And then, of course, you've got the accounting function, which is what helps bring in the money. Now, from this perspective, I'm looking at my infinite banking, or I'm sorry, my infinite marketing. I'm looking at my infinite marketing from it never ends. The infinite marketing concept is basically where I'm starting my lead generation, and it continues on through the sales process, through the operations function, through the accounting function, and it never stops. When does it stop? It doesn't stop when they buy, you continue on with the marketing function, with all the way through sales, through operations, through accounting, and it continues on until they demonstrate to you that they are no longer your client avatar or they have died. And assuming that you don't like working with dead people, generally once they demonstrate to you that they are no longer your avatar, that's when you start marketing to them. And you might say, for example, okay, well, hang on a second. Why would I continue marketing to them if I sell roofs? Right? That's a one trick pony. Why would I continue to market to them if I sell cars? Why would I continue to market to them if I'm a realtor? Why? Well, do they know anybody else that maybe wants a roof or a house or a car? Yeah, probably. And if you took really good care of them, do you think that they might send you some of the people that they like and want to make sure that they are taken care of, like their mother or their neighbor that they have a great relationship with, or their friend or their son or daughter? Yeah, more than likely. And here's the more important thing. Do you think that they are going to send you people who are like throw mama from the trains that are going to complain about everything? No, they're going to protect you. They were going to protect you because you have demonstrated to them that you are highly competent. And this is the interesting thing, is that the fastest way to get to trust with them is to demonstrate competence. Demonstrate you know what you're talking about. How do you demonstrate competence? How do you demonstrate you know what you're talking about? Through your samples, through the things that you can offer them, through the value that you can bring to the table. You see how this is all starting to come full circle? So when you can get to competence very fast, when you can start to get to trust very fast because you're demonstrating competence, that's the fastest way to get to trust, demonstrating competence, and then they're going to trust you and they're going to want to do business with you. Even if they are not necessarily a buyer, they will send people to you because they trust you. Okay? So I made this point earlier, just in case I always like to sound a little repetitive, but when to start marketing to them is that they've demonstrated to you that they are not their avatar, or they're not aligned with your core values, or they've died. So I'm assuming that 1 and 2 are always around live people. Then you could probably ignore number 3. But that's the point, is that, one of the things that I didn't tell you about Landlord Coach is that none of these additional revenues were from book sales, right? I had to listen to my avatar and what they didn't want me to sell them was homework. They didn't want me to sell them a 300-page book. It was every bit of 300 pages. It was like 287 pages or something like that. They didn't want to buy homework, right? So instead of trying to sell books, I started asking them questions, right? Because I knew who my avatar was. I started going to where they were. And it was during this time frame right here, okay, right there. It was during that time frame, somewhere between 2018 and 2019 and a half, that I was going to where they were. I was going to these different RIA groups because I was getting out there, and I stopped. And I'm going to say something here that might offend some of you. I stopped hiding behind my keyboard. Oh man, what do you mean I got to get out from behind my keyboard? Yes, because the easy thing to do is the lazy thing to do. And that's where you have to stop and realize that you're not going to be able to do all this by just sitting behind your keyboard. Can you? Yes. But that's what everybody else is doing. Guess what no one else is doing? They're not getting out there and having actual face-to-face conversations. That's why, I was originally doing these on Zoom, and guess what? No one was showing up. No one wanted to show their videos. No one wanted to be like a human. I was like, what is happening? I'm like way too social for this. So I switched to this platform to kind of make it just kind of even the playing field. So there was no expectation. There's not even a way for you to show your video on here, just so I would get more people to come. I had to go where they were emotionally, right? This is where understanding my avatar, I had to try and test a bunch of things and see what worked. And guess what? Every time I do these are a little bit different, right? Some people like them, some people hate them. I get feedback and then I adjust. That's what marketing is. So trust and know what I'm doing right now is part of marketing. How? Because I'm demonstrating competence. I know what I'm talking about. And I have made way more mistakes than many of you probably ever will have. But I've gotten a few things right. And you can get a lot wrong and get a couple things right and do really, really, really well. So that's the thing, is that you just have to test, and don't worry about fear of ridicule or fear of looking stupid. Look, we're all looking stupid. You ever played golf? That by definition kind of looks silly. So that's why I'm saying, if you've ever done anything like that, the first couple times you do it, you're always going to look silly. Don't worry about it. Everybody's get out there and mix it up, because that's going to hold you back more than any other thing around marketing. So because I knew who my avatar was and who I was during that time frame, I really started getting out there, and I wasn't hiding behind my keyboard anymore. I was literally going wherever I could. And when I was there and I would meet someone who seemed like they were my avatar, I would get their contact information. I would just start asking them questions. And, like, I knew that they were there because they knew I was the speaker, right? And I'd say, what are you hoping to learn by being there tonight? Why would I ask them that question? Why do you think I asked them, what are you hoping to learn by being there tonight? Because they would tell me what their problems were. And then I was like, interesting. Interesting. So now I could start to adjust, sometimes on the fly. I could start to adjust my answers based on what the crowd was struggling with. And, what were they hoping to learn from me? What were the things that were keeping them up at night? Right? These are all questions that the avatar was giving me, because that now I'm thinking, okay, I actually have a solution for that. Let your avatar educate you. I mean, they're dying for that information, and they're also dying for some authenticity, some authentic conversation with people. Right? So this is really, really important. Thanks, Larry. I'm glad you're finding this helpful, Liberta. So again, looking at this, rather than staying at the peak of Mount Stupid, again, let me get myself off the screen here, right? Rather than staying up there at the peak of Mount Stupid, I wanted to get through this as fast as possible. I wanted to get it out of the valley of despair, get up the slope of enlightenment as I possibly can. And then I would be up the top at the plateau of sustainability. So that's right. I could learn from these avatar. That would help me move through Dunning-Kruger as fast as I possibly can. And here's the thing. I go through this all the time. I still go through this. You want to know why? Because anytime I come out with a new idea, anytime I come out with, like, when I publish the Time Wealth The Advantage, I'm getting ready to publish my 9th book called Leader Boss, which is the struggle that bosses have being leaders. Because a lot of times they're either too nice and they get walked all over, or they're too much about the rules and they're a tyrant and no one wants to listen to them. And they can't get anybody to do anything more than just show up on time, right? So that is the biggest problems. So when you're looking at this is where you have to start and think, okay, once you know their problems, you can then deliver value to help solve those problems. And that is the magic right there. There's really no magic formula other than knowing what their problems and being willing to deliver it. Why do you think Walmart grew so fast? Because Sam Walton had an obsession about delivering for the customer. He was always asking, how do you do this? What's important to you here? And he was going out and seeing what was going on in different stores, but he was always facing the customer. So here's the interesting thing is, I want you to start thinking about this. And when you're looking at your marketing, it's easy to look at it from a concept of, okay, you've either got more money or you've got more time. It's rarely like, oh, I got plenty of both. If you do, generally you're maybe just in a startup. Okay. But even then, most startups are not funded that well. But I want you to think about this. Some of you have money, some of you have no time. You have money, but you have no time. Some of you have time, but no money. Some of you have both, and some of you have neither. But this is where I want you to start thinking about, these are the three buckets that your actions or activities every day land in. They either land in consumption, they either land in production, or they land in promotion. Consumption is just basically what you think it is. It's like consuming gas, consuming air conditioning, right? Consuming sandwiches, right? Whatever it is, that's basic consumption. And, if I'm sitting and reading a book, even though that book is massively productive for me, it is consumption. So the problem with consumption is it often looks like production, but it really isn't, right? So you really got to be honest about where these things really land. Because I read and research anywhere between 4 to 6 hours a day sometimes. And the reason I do that is because it's my job as a strategist to help my business owner clients, because they don't have the time to do that. They're so hung up on production that they often don't have time for consumption, and they certainly don't have time for promotion. So here's where I'm just going to say, and I'm just going to say this in case I don't make this point later, that if you're really trying to grow your business right now, you need to be spending as much time as possible on promotion, probably 60 to 70% of your day. So if you're working a 10-hour day, I'm saying that I'm saying the 6 to 7 hours of your day needs to be spent specifically on promoting your business, promoting your brand, going out kissing babies, asking people what it is that they need, and delivering value. That's not always. So keep in mind, promotion isn't punching people in the mouth until they say yes, or holding their head under the water until they say yes. Promotion is bringing value, always bringing value. That's the thing. That's the promotion piece that I want you to think about. If you bring nothing else away from today, remember, always bring value, and do that as 60 to 70% of your time, especially if you are looking to promote your business. If you've got a startup, it's probably closer to 80 to 90%. And I'm just telling you, like, well, I'm already working 12 hours a day. I'm just telling you, it's 80 to 90%. Find someone else that may be able to help you with promotion. And especially, I had a great conversation with a guy yesterday who is a engineering type. Guy is super brilliant, really, really smart dude. And I had asked him, and he had this really cool idea about, building and production stuff. But no problem, Beth. We're going to be sending out a replay. So if you have to drop off, no problem. We're going to be emailing a link to the replay on this. So the thing was, he was an engineering type, and there was no way that, like, he's not a promoter. He is not a promoter at all. And that was the problem with him, is that he realized that, oh yeah, you know what? You're right. I said, yeah, you're not going to be able to promote this, not the way that it needs to be promoted, because you're an engineer. And you're going to promote it like an engineer, and you're going to want to go into all the details, and I'm going to want to jump out the window, because, no offense, you're not a promoter, right? So that's where you have to start to recognize your own strengths and weaknesses. So if you do have more time than money, networking is probably going to be one of your best things. And I do have a networking workshop coming up. That is, in fact, I'll just go ahead and put the link. If you want to go back to Eventbrite, you can find it and plug yourself in there, but it's strategicboardroom.com/events. If you go there, don't go there right now, but you can just copy and paste it for later. But there's a networking session that I have coming up. If you want, again, if your networking is not working, this is specifically for business owners. And many business owners don't do networking very well. And I'm telling you, it's probably one of the easiest activities that you can do to really help promote your business if you do it well. Many don't. So networking is one thing. You can do direct response. Now, direct response marketing is where you send out a piece of mail. Okay. So you're sending out a piece of mail, and that piece of mail or email or whatever it is, it asks them to do something very specific. You have to do a very specific type of response. So direct response could be an ad, it could be a piece of mail, it could be a billboard, it could be any sort of inbound or outbound marketing, but it gets them to do a very specific action. Click here now. Sign up by going to this website now. Call this number right now. Right? It's very specific. They know why they're doing it. Right? It's not just call the number. It's call the number to take advantage of this offer right now. That's direct response. So you can hold meetups, which is a great way to do this. Like, this is kind of a meetup. You can do that virtually. You can do that in your own town. And again, when you're hosting something, there's a little bit of status that comes with that. Right? There's a little bit of swagger that comes with that. And when you're holding a meetup, you might say, oh my gosh, I'm such an introvert. Trust and know you would probably hold a way better meetup than an extrovert. And the reason is because you're not trying to work the entire room. You're going to be making sure you're hitting all the details, but you might need a promoter to help you with that. Find someone who might help you be a good promoter, or help to promote it for you. You can hold webinars just like this. And again, what you should be doing is looking for a 4-to-1 ratio. That 4-to-1 ratio is where you're reaching out with 4 pieces of value and valuable content to everyone ask. Okay. So in other words, even if the ask is free, sometimes free is harder to sell many times free is harder to sell than something they're paying for. But when you're putting something out there, again, hey, here's a piece of value. Hey, would you like to see this video? Hey, here's a free download. Hey, here's this thing. Hey, would you like to come to this event? Right? Okay, so now you're asking. There's the offer. And the offer has to be really, really dialed in. It's 4-to-1. You should be putting out 4 pieces of value to every one ask. And that's the ratio that you're looking for. And because if you start coming in with too many asks, they're going to get burnt out. And I can't tell you how many times I'm so burned out from email marketing, like with people sending me stuff because they send me stuff with no value, and they're always asking me for stuff. They're always asking me to buy something, and I'm not in buying mode when I'm in my email. I'm in just like getting through my email because I hate it. I can't stand it. So for me, my buying atmosphere is not in my email. That is not my buying environment. Okay. So I want you to think about this from a 4-to-1 ratio. How could you be reaching out to value? And I want you to be thinking about what, again, this is why it's so important for you to understand your avatar so well. So when you know your avatar really, really well, you know what it is that they're going to value. And if you don't know what they value, find your avatar that you want to work with and start asking them, hey, what's going on in your business? Oh my gosh, if things good, yeah. Well, if you could change anything about your industry, what would you change? Man, I wish I could, blah, blah, blah. If I'm asking them, what would you change about your industry? They're always going to answer about their business. Always. Always. Hey, what do you like about the legal, what would, if you could change anything, Larry, about legal services and identity theft protection, Larry, what would you change? Larry's going to have an answer. And you know why? Because he's working in that field and he's like, oh my gosh, I wish I could change this. If he's wanting to change that, that's probably a struggle for him. And you might have an answer for that. You might have a product or a service that could help him. Okay. And that's also how you become a far more effective networker. If you have more time than money, right? We were talking about more time than money, or more money than time. If you have more money than time, okay, this is where you need to really think about who you need, not how am I going to do it? Because this is where you're going to start hiring in and bringing other people in to do, promotions and things like that, right? And this is where, you might have, where you're building out an infrastructure. If you're having, more money than time, you can have other people start to put infrastructure in place for you. This is where a lot of marketers will come in and they will build out infrastructure for you on Go High Level or, Pipe Drive or something along those lines. They're going to build out the infrastructure of the business, the bones of the business. Remember the Viper method: vision, infrastructure, process, execution, reporting. This is the infrastructure piece. So they will build out the infrastructure for you, and they will have, so that when you do have process, vis-a-vis people, the people can come in and work that infrastructure for you. So they're going to create processes around shareable content. And this is also something, if you have more money than time, is that, you're going to, when you have shareable content that you're creating or whatever it is, information, white papers, things like that, and you're giving them content, this is something that you can do to start sending out value to people that are going to be your client avatar. These are the people that you're going to be sending out shareable content because they've got pain in their life and they want you to help solve that. But the point is to give away tons of value. So as you're giving away tons of value, again, remember the market judges you by what you give away for free. The market judges you by your samples. And that's been true forever. Remember the door-to-door salesman back in like the 30s and 40s? What did those people do? The door-to-door salesman would go around and they would give them a little bottle of something and go, hey, here's a little bottle of something. Try that out in your, on your pots and pans, and I'll come back tomorrow and see how it works, right? And they give them a little sample, and then they try it out, and it's all of a sudden their pots are shiny, and they're like, oh my gosh, it was amazing. Like, cool. Well, the whole jar is just $3, right? Whatever. Like, oh my gosh, $3, that's a lot of money, right? Well, hey, but you're never going to have to buy another pan, blah, 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 right? So they're demonstrating value by giving away this little thing for free. The market judges you by your samples, and your value needs to be high. Don't give away crap. Give away something that's decent value, and start thinking about that. And if you're like, hey man, I don't want to give away, all my secrets. Look, man, there's no shortage of secrets out there. Come up with more secrets. That's all I'm saying. Just be better. Don't wish it was easier. Wish that you were better. So this is, one thing that I have noticed with this is that people try to go to automation way, way, way too soon. And because they try to go to automation so fast, is that, that is one thing that I have noticed, that when you get people who come to, like, they sign up with you and they're like, oh, I'm going to get them in my email automations. I would just tell you that the real magic here is also around relationships. So if you're just trying to get people to buy the thing and never have a conversation with you, I'm just telling you, you're always going to be struggling for that next conversation, that next person. Okay. So that is all I have. I know we're at the top of the hour. Again, the whole purpose of this was to seek knowledge to understand, and not, like, that's one thing, but the higher standard is to seek knowledge to take actual action. And that's what I really want you to think about as you're taking action. What have you learned today that you can actually take action on? Hopefully it might be around the 3 C's of business vision, where you're looking at your core purpose, core values, and client avatar. Maybe it's around different aspects of networking, or different aspects of putting something else in place. But whatever this is, I want you to start to think about this, about what you can actually do to take action to really move the needle for you. Like, really take action in this, because the reality is marketing is hard, and it's not easy. It takes work, and there's no one formula. It's a messy business. Get out, mix it up. Just don't worry about looking foolish. Just get out there and get your knuckles bloodied, and get dirty. So here is what I'm going to do. I just want to share with you. This is a free resource. If you are of the Facebook sort of type, and you would like to, I'm just going to go ahead and put this in here. Give me 1 second. I'm going to copy this. If you are in a Facebook group, and here's the thing, just don't be a jerk. I am going to copy this. Sorry, 1 second here. There we go. It's just easier for me to copy rather than try to just type it all in. So there's that. If you are more than welcome, Liberta. Hopefully this was helpful for you. That is the Facebook page if you'd like to go there. And again, just, I don't blow you up with a bunch of stuff. It's all stuff, again, just valuable stuff that I think you might find helpful. Here's one quick thing that I would like to offer to you guys. And I don't normally do this, but I had someone that I was in a conversation with yesterday that had asked me if there was a next step, like what's the next thing to work with me. I'm not here to actually sell anything. That was not my intention when I was doing these. But I do have something that I would like to share with you. If you want to hop off right now, I promise you're not going to hurt my feelings, because there were some things on the other end of this that I did want to offer to you. If it is something that's interesting to you, great. If it's not, I promise you can hop off. We're not going to do any more new material. If you are interested in the offer, you can just hang around. So either way, I don't actually know who. I just see the number of people that's in here. So until that number goes to 0, I'll stay here for just a few extra minutes. So if you want to hop off now, there is not going to be any new material. One of the things that I just wanted to demonstrate for you, or to show you, was a course that I have. And this is called the Life and Business Blueprint. And what this is everything that's kind of boiled down into the Viper methodology. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen and show you what everything is on the inside. I'm just going to take a couple of minutes. This is not a hard sell. I just want to show you what it is so you can actually see what it is that you'd be buying and if it would be interesting to you. So I'm literally just going to take just a couple of minutes and show you and demonstrate what that would look like. So give me 1 second. I'm going to stop the share, and then I have to find where it goes. So what it is, this Life and Business Blueprint is, let's see here. We move. Okay. All right, let me put that up on the screen. So the inside of the course is it's a pretty well built out video course. If you are looking at just kind of unpacking all of the things that I was talking about earlier on, especially as it relates to like your business vision, your personal vision, and things like that. So this is what it looks like here. And it's a video course. There's a ton of stuff that's in here. And I'm just going to do this really quickly. It's kind of hard to see, I know. Actually, let me take myself all the way down. And you can see that up at the top here. So what this is up on top is the business vision blueprint, or the personal vision blueprint. And this is all these different courses specifically around developing a personal vision. And this is one of the things that people really, really struggle with when they are working on different aspects of their personal vision. This is something that I wrote about in the Time Wealthy Advantage, but this is all the stuff that's in here around building and creating a personal vision. That's first and foremost. So if you remember around the Viper methodology, you had the personal vision and then you had the business vision. Then you go down to this little section right here, and this is around personal core values. Now the personal core values, this is really, really difficult for a lot of people to unpack. And one of the things that I have noticed was when you have your personal core values established, it's so much easier to come up with your business core values. The problem is that people don't recognize how to like uncover and unpack their own personal core values. And this is the method that I take is kind of like looking at your life in the extremes. So I'll give you a quick example. Is like, have you ever had something like a friend that kind of wandered off the reservation and you were like, oh my gosh, like you're heading down, uh, we're going, I'm going to send the recording out via email. So I'm just going to let you know, that will be going out. We're going to be emailing that out, Larry. Sorry, I meant to answer that earlier. So the personal core values, this is where it's really helpful for you to develop this now. Like, again, when you're looking at your life in the extremes, when you have like a friend that kind of wandered off the reservation, well, that's really where the core values, like when you have a value that is so strong within you that you're willing to take action on it. That's one way that I help you unpack your core values. The next one is the business vision discovery course. And these are all mini courses here. And you just make sure as you select all these, you arrow all the way down and get access to all the individual courses. One that's in here is this is after the core values. This all gets into the 4 core functions of business around lead generation, around, taking the traffic temperature, infrastructure and process, around how to set that up around lead generation, your sales function, all these different aspects of this sort of thing right here. And then you're looking at the 4 core functions. Now I have lead generation. I have multiple things in there around lead generation, and some of these are not quite finished. They're almost finished. I just got to get the rest of them uploaded. And this last one here, there's one around lead generation. This one is specific about writing and publishing a book. And that's one of the things that I do around lead generation. So even if you're interested in something like that, and there's all this different stuff, and this one here around accounting, this is actually the money and finance course, which again, remember there's 4 core functions of business, which is around lead generation, sales, operations, and accounting. And this really helps you understand from a personal and business owner perspective of how you can help things like growing broke and understanding things like balance sheets and income statements, and even something around the infinite banking concept and how you can help store cash in a tax sheltered environment. So these are all different things that will be helpful for you. And then of course, there's different masterclass sections down here. I'm going through this rather quickly. Again, like I said, I'm not here to promote this super heavy. I just want you to be familiar with it, because what I'm going to offer for you, and I'm going to put the link up here in a hot second, but the link to this course, you can get to this page through strategicboardroom.com, and then you just log in through courses, through the courses there. Here's what I'm going to do. This course and everything in it, okay? And keep in mind, there's more stuff going into that. I've got a whole sales course I haven't even uploaded to it yet. I've got a whole other lead generation course I haven't put in there yet. More specific, more broken down, more granular than what I taught today. And it's all in there. So as I put in more stuff, here's the thing: you never have to buy another course again. This is everything just keeps getting put in there. So you don't have to buy anything else. I mean, if you want coaching from me, that's obviously more. But that's what I'm saying. Like this is it. There's no other course material to buy. And as I develop more and more courses, I just keep putting them in here. So you literally don't have to pay anything else ever again, right? Till I die. And then I don't know what to tell you. But after that, so that all of that, just to let you know, that will be included in the offer. The other thing that I'm going to offer, and I apologize that this is only for US residents only, this next piece I'm going to offer is also for the one price. You're going to get the strategic black box, which will include my books. So it's going to be this book here, which is the Time Wealthy Advantage, and I will sign it and I will send it to you, and you will get all of the other books here too. I think I'm missing one. Yeah, I am missing. Oh, sales is right here. So this is the 4 books. This is lead generation. This is sales, operation, accounting, and then there's one around the strategic one sheets. So you get all of these as well. Normally these sell as one bundle for just shy of $50. So I'm going to include that with one price. And the last thing that I just want to throw in there is that if you buy it, I'm going to throw in, for everybody that buys it today, I'm going to throw in a 55-minute coaching session with me directly. Okay, but you got to buy it today. And so Lauren just put the link up there. Here's the price. If you are a US resident, you will get all of this stuff for $197. So you get the books, you get the course, and you get the one-to-one session with me for 55-minute session with me. And we can talk about really whatever you want to talk about. Talk about business, talk about life, talk about really whatever it is that you want to talk about. And I will give you a time to, you can use that really whenever you want. It doesn't expire. I'd like you to do it within a year though. If you are outside the United States, because I can't send you the book, what I will do is or just if you're like, hey, that's great, but I'm not a book person. You can buy it with just for the 179, and that is also in there. So all you're going to do is select one of the two, and you can put it in there. But I will still give you the 55-minute session. So here's the thing: it's either 197, which includes the course, the book bundle, the black box bundle, right? The books that I just showed you, and a 55-minute session for 197. If you don't want the books, I will do the same thing. It's going to be the course and a 55-minute session with me for 179. So you just go click that link that's right there, and fill out your information, and we'll make sure that you're in touch, that we'll get in touch with you, make sure that you can get logged in, make sure you know where to go to log into this, because I know sometimes I log into courses and I'm like, where the heck do I log into this thing again? So I'll show you where all that is, and then I'll also, if you're domestic U.S., I'll get your books out to you today. In fact, I got to go out to the post office already today. So if you guys are wanting to do that right now, you can go ahead and buy that. So that's everything that I have, guys. Thanks so much for sticking around. You guys were really a lot of fun, and hopefully you found this helpful. We'll get the replay out to you soon. Have a great rest of your day, and we'll see you guys next time.